Welcome back to our channel. Think dimes are just spare change? Think again. Discover the top 4 valuable ones. Like and subscribe. For the United States was in a state of transformation in 1970. The country was pulling itself out of the tumultuous 1960s, navigating economic uncertainty, social upheaval, and the looming pressure of technological advancement. While America was focused on civil rights, the Vietnam War, and space exploration, another realm, quiet, mechanical, and precise, continued its routine behind the massive doors of the U.S. Mint. In that world, millions of coins were produced daily, including the Roosevelt dime. It was never meant to be rare. It was never designed to turn heads. It simply passed from pocket to cash register, unnoticed and uncelebrated. But from within that sea of routine, one coin would eventually rise above the rest, not because it was designed to stand out, but because it wasn't supposed to exist at all. Inside the Denver Mint, thousands of Roosevelt dimes were struck in 1970, using the copper-nickel-clad planchets that had been standard since 1965. The silver era was over. The new dimes had a copper core, visible on their edges, sandwiched between 2 layers of nickel. This wasn't just about cost, it was a reflection of the times. Silver was too valuable for everyday coins. By 1970, silver was reserved strictly for collector proofs and commemorative issues. But even the most controlled systems have flaws. Sometimes, the unexpected bypasses even the tightest safeguards. It wasn't until decades later, in 2019, that one of those flaws would be discovered. Evelyn Hart, a seasoned coin enthusiast from Illinois, was combing through her late uncle's collection. He had been a collector during the 1960s and 70s, though not professionally. He simply had an eye for oddities and liked saving coins that felt different. Inside an old plastic sleeve, labeled Odd Shine, she found a 1970 dime that immediately caught her attention. It looked cleaner than the others. More lustrous. The surface mirrored light back at her in a way that clad dimes never did. She flipped it over. No obvious scratches, no corrosion. Just an unusually pristine dime with the Denver Mint mark, but what truly stood out wasn't its shine, it was the edge. It lacked the familiar copper core visible in all modern dimes. The edge was solid, uniformly silver in color. That couldn't be right. She retrieved several other dimes from the 1970s to compare. Every one had the standard copper stripe. But not this one. This one was different. She weighed at 2.49 grams, standard dimes are 2.27 grams. But pre-1965 silver dimes? Those came in at 2.50 grams. Could it be that this dime, struck 5 years after the silver era ended, was somehow made from a silver planchet? It didn't seem possible. She took the coin to a local dealer, who initially dismissed her suspicion. Could have been dipped, cleaned, or tampered with, he said. But after weighing it, he paused. That's heavier than it should be, he muttered. He offered her $200 on the spot, just in case it's something special. Evelyn declined. Instead, she sent it to a grading service, requesting full authentication and metallurgical testing. Weeks later, the results arrived, and they would alter her life forever. 1970 D. Roosevelt dime, struck on 90% silver planchet, -58 Australian dollars, verified authentic. The grading report went on to explain that silver planchets were no longer used for circulation in 1970. The only place they were still employed was in proof sets from the San Francisco Mint. The fact that this coin had been struck in Denver raised enormous questions. How did a silver blank, intended only for a completely different mint and purpose, find its way into a high-speed press for general circulation? Historians and numismatic researchers dug into production records. The prevailing theory emerged quickly. During the early months of 1970, the Mint was still processing leftover silver planchets from the previous year for use in proof sets. It's likely that during cleaning or transport, a handful of silver blanks were mistakenly shipped to the Denver Mint and mixed into the standard clad inventory. Once inside the hopper, the machines wouldn't differentiate. Any planchet in the feed line would be struck. The silver dime was minted, inspected, and passed through quality control without raising alarms, but the mystery didn't end there. Evelyn's dime also showed signs of light doubling. Not on every letter, but on the R and T in Liberty and the 9 in the date. A closer inspection revealed slight shifts in design elements, indicating that a minor double die error had occurred during the creation of the die used to strike it. Now the coin wasn't just a wrong planchet error, it was a dual anomaly. A 1970 silver dime with doubling. The chances of this combination occurring were microscopic, word spread fast. The coin community erupted in conversation, speculating on whether other similar examples existed. A few collectors recalled rumors of a 1970 silver dime surfacing at a Texas flea market in the late 90s, but the coin was never verified. Others searched their own collections, hoping to find something similar. No one did. In early 2021, Evelyn agreed to place the coin in a public auction. It was listed as the 1970 D silver Roosevelt dime, verified off-metal strike with doubling, potentially unique. Collectors around the world watched closely. Bidding began at $35,000. Within minutes, it leapt to $62,000. Two anonymous phone bidders drove it to $80,000. Then $97,000. The final bid came from a private collector based in Boston, who had spent years amassing rare mint errors. The hammer dropped at $128,000. Evelyn was speechless. She had come into this thinking her uncle had left behind a shiny oddity. What she held had become one of the most valuable mint error dimes ever confirmed. The numismatic community continued to discuss the coin for years after. Its existence challenged assumptions about post-silver era minting and emphasized how small errors, often invisible in the moment, can create astonishing anomalies that redefine history decades later. Today, the 1970 D Roosevelt dime struck on a 90% silver planchet with faint obverse doubling is viewed as a numismatic treasure. No other certified examples have emerged since. Its presence in the official error coin registries has made it a case study in minting unpredictability. Experts currently estimate the coin's market value to range between $68,000 and $148,000, depending on buyer interest and whether any similar examples ever come to light. But its true value lies in the story it tells, a quiet story of a machine's blind moment, a collector's patient curiosity, and a silver glint that defied the rules of its time. The year 1983 was marked by economic tension and recovery in the United States. Inflation had slowed, interest rates were high, and Americans were adjusting to a new era of financial caution. In the midst of it all, the U.S. Mint carried on with its usual routine, producing coins that would quietly pass through hands across gas stations, diners, vending machines, and grocery store counters. The Roosevelt dime was among them, cranked out in the millions without fanfare or deviation. Designed for utility, it blended into everyday life. Nothing about the 1983 dime was expected to raise an eyebrow, until a single anomaly, decades later, changed everything. Cynthia Lambert had never intended to become a coin collector. A retired high school librarian from New Hampshire, she developed an interest in numismatics after inheriting her grandfather's old tackle box, which was filled not with fishing gear, but with an assortment of coins dating back to the 1930s. Most of them were worn and unremarkable. But one dime, glinting a little brighter than the rest, caught her attention. It bore the date 1983 and the Denver Mint mark. She nearly put it aside, assuming it was just in better condition than the others. But something about it lingered in her mind. She compared it with other dimes from the same era. Side by side, hers looked different. The luster was unusual, not just shiny, but with a soft reflective sheen that hinted at something older. She looked at the edge. It was solid in color, uniform, silvery, without the familiar copper stripe that had been standard on all post-1965 dimes. Alarm bells went off. She had read enough by then to know what that could mean. She placed it on her digital scale. 2.49 grams, that didn't make sense. Clad dimes weighed 2.27 grams. But silver dimes, the ones minted before 1965, had weighed exactly 2.50 grams. Her dime was nearly identical in mass to a silver issue, despite being from a year when silver was no longer in production. Her curiosity turned to concern. Could it be fake? Could someone have tampered with it? She tested it with a magnet. It didn't stick. She performed the ring test, gently tapping it against another coin. The sound was high-pitched and clear, again, like silver. She still wasn't sure. She sent the coin to a reputable grading and authentication service, marking her submission with the words, "Possible wrong planchet, please confirm metal." The wait was excruciating. When the result came back, Cynthia could only stare at the label in stunned silence. 1983 D. Roosevelt dime, struck on silver planchet, MS-62, verified authentic. The graders went a step further, confirming it was 90% silver with 10% copper, exactly the composition of dimes struck prior to the Coinage Act of 1965. The implications were extraordinary. Silver planchets were not supposed to be anywhere near the Denver Mint in 1983. The U.S. had discontinued silver circulating coinage nearly 2 decades earlier. Only specialty proof sets and commemoratives carried silver, and those were struck exclusively in San Francisco. So how did this planchet, a leftover from a bygone era, end up in a coin press in Denver and get stamped with a 1983 design? Numismatic researchers began digging. One theory suggested that an old silver planchet, perhaps stuck in a forgotten bin or feeder tray, remained hidden in the Denver Mint system for years. When cleaning crews reactivated older equipment or shifted and used materials, the rogue blank could have slipped into the regular production line without notice. The coin was struck, processed, and released into circulation among millions of ordinary dimes, but there was more. Under magnification, the coin revealed faint doubling on the motto "In God We Trust" and the initials JS near Roosevelt's neck. Not severe, but clear enough to be noted. The die used for the obverse had been slightly misaligned during its hubbing process. It was another anomaly, this time, a minor double die error, that changed everything. What Cynthia had in her hands wasn't just a wrong planchet coin. It was a dual-error specimen, a silver dime struck nearly 20 years after silver was phased out, with visible doubling on the obverse. In terms of rarity, this pushed it into a new category. She was flooded with inquiries. Collectors reached out directly. One offered $25,000. Another $33,000. A museum curator contacted her with questions, hoping to feature it in an exhibit on minting history. But Cynthia wasn't in a hurry. She wanted to understand the coin's full story before parting with it. A few months later, a numismatic journal published an article about her discovery, dubbing it "The Ghost of Silver Past." It suggested that this dime, likely struck from a leftover silver blank that had somehow survived unnoticed for nearly 20 years, was one of only 2 or 3 known to exist. The combination of the silver planchet and minor doubling made it a once-in-a-generation find. She eventually consigned it to an exclusive auction house. Their estimate began at $40,000, but buzz quickly grew around the coin. Collectors speculated on its origins. Some believed it may have been a test strike that accidentally made it into circulation. Others argued it was simply a one-in-a-billion accident, an echo of silver's final gasp. The auction took place in early 2022. It began with cautious bidding, $45,000, then $51,000. A dealer from Chicago pushed it to $72,000. Then a bidder from Tokyo raised to $85,000. It finally sold to a private collector in San Francisco for a final hammer price of $113,000. After the sale, Cynthia felt a mix of disbelief and quiet satisfaction. A single dime, hiding for decades among ordinary coins, had revealed a secret no one saw coming. It had survived years of circulation, unnoticed, unappreciated, until someone with the right mix of curiosity and intuition saw past its silence. Today, the 1983 D. Roosevelt dime struck on a silver planchet with light obverse doubling is considered one of the most compelling modern-era mint errors ever discovered. It remains a powerful reminder that even in a world governed by machines, mistakes, sometimes beautiful, accidental mistakes, still happen. Currently, its estimated value sits between $60,000 and $122,000 depending on grade, surface condition, and visibility of doubling. But for those who understand the intricate dance of coin production, the real value is in the story it carries, a story buried inside a 10-cent piece that was never supposed to be different but dared to be anyway. The dawn of the 21st century brought with it rapid advancements in technology, shifting economies, and an increasingly interconnected world. Yet amid all the noise of digital revolutions and global headlines, the U.S. Mint continued its steady, mechanical rhythm, producing billions of coins meant to serve in silence, passing hands without a second glance. The Roosevelt dime had long settled into this role, its design unchanged since 1946, its purpose purely functional. By 2002, few even noticed the small silver coin anymore. But sometimes, hidden within monotony, something extraordinary emerges. Not by design, but by mistake. In 2002, the Denver Mint was busy meeting circulation demands, especially as economic activity increased post-recession. Dimes rolled out by the millions, struck from the same copper-nickel-clad planchets used since 1965. There was no reason to expect anything unusual from this year's production. No special commemoratives. No planned changes. But one coin defied the norm in complete silence, until it surfaced nearly 2 decades later. It appeared not in a collector's folder or museum exhibit, but in a forgotten coin jar sitting on a dusty garage shelf in Oregon. Marcus Doyle, a retired railway technician, had a habit of tossing pocket change into jars without sorting. One rainy afternoon in 2021, while organizing his late uncle's belongings, he stumbled across one such jar, brimming with quarters, nickels, and dimes. He wasn't looking for treasure, just reminiscing. But one particular dime stood out. The 2002 D. Roosevelt dime glistened oddly, its shine deeper, almost liquid. Unlike the other coins that had dulled with age and grime, this one shimmered. Its surface was immaculate, almost proof-like, but it wasn't from a proof set. Curious, Marcus examined the edge. That's when he froze. There was no copper stripe. The edge was a uniform silver color, no layering, no orange core, just one solid band of metal. He knew enough to suspect something rare. Taking a digital scale from his kitchen drawer, he weighed it. 2.50 grams, that couldn't be right. Modern dimes weighed 2.27 grams. But this one tipped the scale to pre-1965 specifications. Had this dime somehow been struck on a silver planchet? Skeptical yet intrigued, Marcus showed the coin to a local coin shop. The dealer was cautious. It could be altered, he said. Could have been plated. But the weight didn't add up. The dealer offered him $5,000 just in case. Marcus politely declined. He sent the coin to a professional grading service for authentication. Weeks passed. The results, when they finally came, shocked even the graders. 2002 D. Roosevelt dime, struck on 90% silver planchet, MS-63, verified authentic. The authentication confirmed it. This coin had been struck not on a copper-nickel-clad blank, but on a silver planchet that hadn't been used for regular circulation dimes since 1964. Somehow, during a year without any planned silver issues for circulation, a leftover or misdirected silver blank had found its way into the Denver Mint's production line. It had passed through the striking press unnoticed and entered circulation with millions of others, but that wasn't all. Further analysis revealed subtle dye polish lines crisscrossing the fields and faint doubling on the word Liberty and the digits in the date. While not dramatic, this doubling suggested a lightly worn die or a minor die shift, giving the coin yet another layer of interest. Theories began circulating. Could this dime have been struck using leftover silver planchets from collector proof sets? Could it have been a test strike accidentally released? Or was it the result of a wayward blank from a different denomination, trimmed and repurposed by mistake? The possibilities were speculative, but the evidence was undeniable. What elevated this find wasn't just the material, it was the timing. In 2002, no silver dimes were supposed to exist outside of collector sets, and certainly none were supposed to be minted in Denver. This made the coin an off-metal error of significant magnitude, made rarer by its pristine condition and subtle doubling. As Marcus's story spread, collectors took note. Discussions erupted in online forums and auction communities. Few had ever seen a modern dime with both a silver composition and visual dye anomalies. None had confirmed a 2002 D like his. Bidding interest began long before the coin even hit the market. He eventually consigned it to a premier numismatic auction, where it was listed as the 2002 D silver Roosevelt dime with die shift doubling, confirmed off-metal error, likely unique. The auction was set for late 2022. Starting at $35,000, bidding escalated rapidly. Enthusiasts from California, New York, and even overseas competed. It crossed $50,000 in less than 5 minutes. Then $67,000. Two anonymous phone bidders continued the duel, pushing it beyond the six-figure mark. When the dust settled, the final hammer dropped at $94,000. The numismatic world reeled. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a revelation. A post-2000 Roosevelt dime, confirmed to be silver, with visible die anomalies, and documented provenance. It became a centerpiece in modern-era coin studies and was featured in numismatic publications and videos. It showed how a single, quiet slip in a highly controlled environment could produce a piece of national minting history. Collectors and researchers now keep their eyes open for any similar 2002 dimes. To date, none have surfaced with the same characteristics. Marcus's coin remains a singular discovery. Today, its estimated market value fluctuates between $48,000 and $98,000, depending on collector interest and prevailing auction climates. But more than its price, it remains a powerful symbol of chance, patience, and the unseen value hidden in ordinary things. A silent coin in a forgotten jar that waited nearly 20 years to tell its story, and when it did, the world listened.